countdown. So, Bill, let's talk about creativity. You have what you call creativity, making creatives into. Stop. Pause. Sorry. Pause.
Turning
Oh my
creativity into
gosh.
money.
Yeah. So, Bill, tell me how you help small businesses and businesses turn their creativity into money, and be one of the cool kids in their industry, regardless of what industry.
Well, we all want to be one of the cool kids, don't we? We all want to be, especially in business. I mean, you wouldn't think of it in business, but in business, don't you want to be the one that people point to and go like, wow, Pia's got it figured out.
Of
I wish I could be
course.
more like Pia. Pia's one of the cool kids. Pia's always leading the industry. That's what I mean by being one of the cool kids, being somebody who's just, when everybody else looks to who's the leader of the industry, everybody says, "Oh, it's those guys. It's them."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you want to be. And that takes innovation. So what is innovation? See, a lot of people confuse innovation and creativity. They think they're the same thing. They think they're synonyms, and they use them interchangeably. And that's not true. And here's what I mean by that. And this is why I talk about turning creativity into money. Because creativity on its own is worthless. It's important, but it's worthless. Because there's no
Okay.
value attached to creativity, because you're just coming up with ideas.
Okay.
But
I'm following.
until you first of all winnow down those ideas to the one or the very few that have some market value that you think, okay, this is what we're going to move forward with, and then you make a plan to implement them and actually do implement them, then you've got something. And that's the whole cycle of innovation. Innovation is all about coming up with ideas, evaluating those ideas, and then implementing those ideas. That's turning creativity into money. Creativity on its own is the starting point, but it's not enough. It's important. Without the creative ideas, you'd have nowhere to go. But creativity is kind of like if you want to cook a recipe. You get your cookbook out there. Okay, that's great. And then it's got, over on the left someplace, it's got the list of ingredients. So you get those ingredients, and they're all on the table. Okay, that's not a cake yet. That's not a turkey. That's not, that whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are that's the creativity part, coming up with the ideas. That's the raw ingredients of innovation. But then you have to take it through this funnel that ends in implementation. That's when you turn creativity into money.
However, in this day and age.
Oh, I love that.
However,
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I've seen it with our clients. Everything's been done before. Why are we don't have any new ideas? How are we going to be innovative? I know that you talked a little bit about that. It's kind of a mindset, right? Changing your mindset around creativity and innovation and what that means.
It is a mindset. And here's where I think a lot of people kind of run up against a brick wall, is that they think only the big innovations count. So they think about innovation and they think, well, the iPhone's been invented. The Tesla's been invented. The internet's been invented. There's nothing left to be invented. First of all, innovation and invention are not the same thing either. These are all closely tied together. But the innovation at its core is about seeing a problem and coming up with a solution that nobody else has come up with yet. And there's no shortage of problems. There will never be a shortage of problems. So anytime there's a problem, there's the possibility for innovation. And problems come in all shapes and sizes. There are big problems and there are little problems. You don't have to invent the iPhone to be an innovator. One of the greatest innovations, certainly in my world, because I'm a professional speaker, I travel for a living, or at least did prior to 2020, and will again. Spend a lot of time in hotels, okay? And maybe this has happened to you, Pia, maybe like an older hotel or a cheaper hotel. You're in the shower, and have you ever had that experience where you turn the hot water on and then the plastic shower curtain just comes and tries to hug you, and it's clammy and it's
Yes.
weird? Right. So that had been a problem for a long time. People just put up with it. But finally, some brilliant innovator said, well, what if we just bend the curtain rod? Yeah. And it's fabulous. Don't you love going into the shower now when you see the curtains? Like, that fixed the problem. Mm-hmm. Now, is that inventing the iPhone? Is that inventing the internet? No. Is that inventing Spanx? No, it's not. It's bending a piece of metal. But oh my goodness, it solved a problem. That was an innovative idea. That was an innovative idea. You can do that. Your clients can do that. My clients can do that. All it takes is when you run up against a problem, something that bugs you, don't just stop and complain about it, which is what we always did about the shower curtains. You know,
yeah.
oh, this, you know, this is we don't like this. Take it that one extra step and say, oh, I don't like this. How can I make it better?
So
That's the
it's almost
question.
So it's almost like you're stepping into your client's shoes, right? And finding the problems there and what, like you say, connecting the dots, which I'd love you to speak a little bit more about, and how people can do that exercise to come up with solutions.
Yeah. And it does start with coming up with ideas, with that first stage of creativity, ideation. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's ideation, evaluation, implementation, or as I call it, because I come from the world of television and showbiz, lights, camera, action. Because see, lights is the light bulbs. You know, when you think of ideas, coming up with ideas, you think of the light bulb moments. Okay, that's lights. What does the camera do? It focuses. That's when you take those ideas and you focus in on the very few or even the one that's actually going to make a difference. And then action is the implementation. So lights, camera, action. So,
I love that.
Thanks. So the lights is coming up with the ideas, and some people do get stuck here, and part of that is another myth, which I need to dispel here for your clients, because there are some people, you may know some people like this, Pia. There's some people who go through life just thinking, well, I'm not. By the way, every when I say some people, I always go into that. This apparently is the only voice I have. Well, I'm just not creative. I'm not one of those innovative type. It's just, you know, that's not my department. That's not my job description. First of all, innovation is everybody's job description, or it should be. Because again, innovation is just looking at things that aren't working and figuring out how can I make it better. That's everybody's job. Wouldn't you like everybody on your team to have that mindset?
Yeah.
But then there's this mindset of, well, I'm just not creative. And I'll tell you where that comes from. It comes from several things, one of which is a misunderstanding of what creativity is all about. See, people think that creativity is the lightning bolt that comes down from above, and it only strikes the gifted few, right? So you've got to be, you know, Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or, you know, one like, okay, the lightning bolt strikes them, or, you know, like a Mozart or whatever. That's not what it is. We are all the gifted few. We all have the ability to be creative, to be innovative. There was a study, I'm not going to go through the whole study, but basically what it came down to, the study was trying to figure out what is it that separates the creative people from the non-creative people, you know, the innovators from the non-innovators. And they did a whole bunch of things to determine this. And what they found out was one element, one thing, and one thing only, and it was this. The creative people believed that they were creative. Mm. That's it. Had nothing to do with education, had nothing to do with IQ, had nothing to do with life experience. The creative people believed they were creative. That's it. That's the only difference. But can you see how that difference makes all the difference?
Oh, yeah.
If you go through life believing you're creative, just like if you go through life believing that you're confident or, you know, smart or good looking or whatever, you know, we really do create our own reality.
Well, the funny thing is that whenever someone says that to me, I'm just like, seriously? Like, I can point out many times that you've been creative. I think it's just the definition they have in their head. And the other thing I'll add to that, Bill, is there's a lot of business owners, CEOs that are just burned out. I mean, even after 2020 and everything we've gone through, they're just like, really, I have nothing left in my creative juices.
In the tank,
so what do you say to them? How can they get inspired or change that
First
around?
of all, I want to acknowledge that is a completely valid feeling. Look, we're all feeling burned out. Mm-hmm. Even as we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel and, you know, we're kind of starting to come out as we're exhausted. It's been an exhausting year and a half, and it's still tough because we still don't know where everything's going to land. Like, what's our world going to look like?
Right.
And that's both sociological and, professional and all that. What's our world going to look like? And we're exhausted. I totally get that. I think probably the best way to answer this is to talk about connecting dots. Because I tell you what creativity is not. Creativity is not the lightning bolt that comes down from above. That's not what creativity is. Creativity is really about connecting dots, about seeing two or more things and connecting them in a way that nobody ever has before. Classic example, the year 1440, Johannes Gutenberg. He's a wine processor and movable type, both of which already existed. They had existed for years, in some cases for centuries. Wine processor, movable type. He saw a connection that nobody had ever seen. He saw when the wine is pressed, the grapes are pressed. It's like, ooh, that looks kind of like ink. Wait a minute, ink. Maybe, and boom, he invented the printing press. It came from connecting ideas. It's not the lightning bolt. People think it's the lightning bolt because people just see this part down here, the connection, and that seems like a lightning bolt, but it comes from seeing things and connecting them. So we can all do that. And here's how. First of all, we have to become dot collectors, which means that in order for Gutenberg to have made that connection, he had to be aware of both the wine processor and movable type, right? Mm-hmm. So, if he had never seen a wine processor, that dot would not have been available to him, so he could not have made that connection. So it makes sense as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as professionals in the world, it makes sense. It's to our advantage to collect as many dots as possible. Now, what are these dots? Mm-hmm. They're anything. They're ideas, experiences, people, every magazine article you read, every blog post you read, every podcast you listen to, every conversation you have, every place you visit, a foreign country you visit or a different state that you visit or province. Those are all dots. Those are all collections of experiences that you've got floating around here that you can connect. And try and make them as different as possible because you want to collect different colored dots. Mm-hmm. If you only ever read the same kinds of things, especially if it's the same kinds of things your competitors are already reading, I mean, yes, you want to read that, but if that's all you read, if you only talk to certain kinds of people, if you only listen to certain kinds of podcasts, then you're limiting your connections to like the same color. Like I call it navy, 3/4 inch navy blue dots. If all your dots are 3/4 inch navy blue, then all your ideas are going to be 3/4 inch navy blue. But all of a sudden you start reading something that the competition's not reading. You listen to a podcast they're not listening to. You have a conversation with somebody that maybe has nothing whatsoever to do with your industry. Mm-hmm. But if you go into it with that mindset of, ooh, how can I make a connection? And this is where it gets to the how-to. So first you're collecting dots, and now you start connecting them, and you connect them actively at first. Eventually it'll become habit. Eventually your brain will kind of catch on that, oh, okay, I guess we're going to be a connection machine now. But what you do is you go. So here's something that if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you can do it this week. You can do it today. Here's a little assignment, little game. Read something that you wouldn't normally read. An article, a book, whatever. Just find something on the internet that you wouldn't normally read. Maybe it's something you have no interest in whatsoever. Read something that you wouldn't normally read, and as you're reading it, ask yourself this question: how can I apply this to my world? Whether it's your professional world or your personal world. Notice, because here's what happens, Pia, and I'm sure you've noticed this too. Your brain it's magnificent. Your brain, Pia. I don't know about anybody else's. No, I mean
no one else is
right, exactly.
above me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, you have a magnificent brain. No, we've got this amazing tool, free and clear, and it will try and answer any question we put to it. So if we feed it better questions, we're going to get better answers. So notice that the question I asked you to ask was, how can I relate this to my situation? Not can I relate this to my situation. See, that's the mistake a lot of people make. They read an article and go, well, this has nothing to do with me. Boom. Because basically they're asking the question, can I relate this? Can I connect this to my situation? And your brain's saying, nope. Yep. You asked a poor question. Yep. But if you just add the word how can I relate this to my situation? Your brain will go like, okay, let's try and figure this out.
Yeah.
And then come up with answers, because they're always there. The connections are always there if you look for them. Maybe it's in the overall gist of the article. Maybe it's like one sentence that makes you think, oh, maybe I could do that. Look, maybe, I'm not saying you're going to come up with gold. You might not. The thing is, you never know which dot is going to be the $1 million dot.
Yeah.
But you're never going to find it if you're not asking yourself, where is that connection? How can I connect these? And at the very least, you're going to find that you're looking at your situation, your challenges. Maybe there's a particular challenge that you're facing right now in your business or in your personal life. So read that article on basket weaving or, snake charming or something like that. Yeah. And then say, okay, how can I relate that to this current challenge? Not can I, but how can I relate it to this current challenge? At first, you may have trouble coming up with anything because, again, your brain's like, wait, what are we doing? I don't understand this. But eventually, your brain's going to catch on, and it'll start coming up with these connections, and pretty soon it'll become kind of automatic. We've all had the experience of, we're walking down the street and we see something and we go like, oh, that reminds me of that time. What was it? 15 years ago. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. But now we're doing it intentionally and strategically. For our business, we're taking that part of our brain that finds connections, because our brains will find connections.
Yeah.
We just haven't practiced it. So if you focus that ability that your brain already has, if you focus it on your situation, on your profession, on your business, that's how you start to come up with those ideas. And for the people who are fatigued, this really doesn't take much extra effort. It's just a shift in mindset, and it's a shift in practicing. It's not difficult. It might be a little difficult at first, but it's just teaching your brain that connections are important, because your brain will focus on what's important. If you're in the market for a new dishwasher, I just bought a new dishwasher yesterday. Okay, so all day yesterday, dishwashers were really important to me. I did the research and everything. Classic example, I'm sure you've had this experience, as have most of the people watching this. You buy a new car. Maybe it's not brand new, but it's new for you. And what do you notice on the way out from the dealership? Oh my goodness, everybody on the road has a red Prius. Mm-hmm. Where were they all before? Well, they were there. They just, you didn't focus on them. So the creative ideas, the connections are there. Once you start to focus on them, you're gonna be kind of overwhelmed. My goodness, there's connections everywhere. Yes, there are. And if you're reading things, listening to things, talking to people that the competition's not, you're going to have dots available to you that the competition won't have available to them, which means you can make connections that the competition can't make because they don't have those dots. They did not collect those dots, and therefore they cannot connect those dots. So if you collect a large quantity of multicolored dots, different kinds of things, and then teach your brain how to make those connections, that's it. That's it. That's where you come up with the ideas. Then it's a matter of winnowing it down. Then it's the camera and the action, the focus and the implementation.
I love that, especially because people in industries like my industry, marketing, all you do is read about marketing and talk about marketing and listen to marketing podcasts. Yeah. But there's something about opening that and expanding your horizons, because we have this curse of knowledge, right? We know so much that we almost can't tell our story to our prospects because we have been in it for so long. So I will listen, like your lights, camera, action, like that's brilliant. Like I could connect that with something that we do in our marketing company, right? And that's something that I probably wouldn't have, known about, and just making similarities. So that's a great exercise. I love that.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, Pia. I mean, if you're in marketing, you're going to read a lot about marketing. You're going to talk to marketing people. You're going to read marketing. You're going to listen to marketing podcasts. Of course we are. That's important. I'm a professional speaker. I listen to things about speaking, about the speaking world. Here's how to make your CRM, your customer, work better. All those kinds of. And when I go to my convention of the National Speakers Association, it's great. There's nothing quite like being around people who really understand your world, and nobody understands your world like people who do what you do. So that's important. But if that's all you listen to, if that's all you associate with, then you're collecting lots and lots and lots of 3/4 inch navy blue dots. And you're going to come up with lots and lots and lots of 3/4 inch navy blue ideas. and they're going to be the same ideas that the competition comes up with because they've got the same dots. They can make those same connections. So, and then, yeah, you're absolutely right about the curse of knowledge. I love that phrase, and it manifests itself in a lot of different ways. If you work with clients who are not in marketing, as you do, because they come to you for marketing, you want to be able to speak their language. You want to be able to use examples that they would understand, which means, okay, you kind of have to be up on, like, what are they listening to? What are they reading? What's important to them?
Right. Tell me about, so obviously we're all on social media and it's kind of a drinking out of
For
fire
better or
hose.
for worse.
Yeah, so I know there's always a good side and a bad side. Tell me what you think is the good side and the bad side as far as its effect on people's creativity as a business owner.
Social media?
Yes.
I've never been asked that before. That's a really intriguing question.
And just to clarify, when I say social media, I mean everything. So videos, podcast, like all this information.
I'm sorry, that's your clarification? Let me just clarify. I mean everything. Okay, good. Thanks for narrowing it down for me. Well,
information overload.
Yeah, I think let's start with the downside, or the potential downside, because social media, just like anything else, it's a tool. You can't say social media is bad, just like you can't say, an empty glass is bad. It depends on what you fill it with. You fill it with poison, it's bad. You fill it with water or a really nice single malt, it's good. So social media, yeah, the problem is it's all out there. And I think what's gone wrong with social media is that people have found their 3/4 inch navy blue dots. It's there. If they have a particular point of view, if they already have a particular belief, there is. They can go down the rabbit hole all day long, all week long, for all of 2020. A lot of people, we saw examples of that. And I'm not going to be specific examples because I'm not going to go on one side of the aisle or the other. But, where people just, they kind of get tunnel vision because there's so much there, but it's all the same colored dots, right? So you can you can find a podcast on anything and just listen and listen and listen, and you get your 3/4 inch navy blue dot reinforced over and over and over again. And that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's again, we want to stay up with what's current in our world. Here's the flip, and the flip side is the good side. The good part of it, that everything else is available to you also.
Yeah, you can connect the dots a lot faster.
Yeah, you can connect the dots. You can listen to a podcast that's got a different point of view. You can listen to a podcast of something. You can take an online course. Either sign up on Mastermind or the great courses or, free courses. LinkedIn has courses. You can take a course on Renaissance architecture, and find a connection there. I actually have a client at Microsoft who solved a multi-million-dollar problem because he happened to have a conversation with a woman who was an expert in Renaissance architecture.
Really?
And she told him something about the building of the Duomo in Florence, Italy, that was the key. It was the missing piece to a puzzle to an algorithm that he'd been trying to solve for months and months and months. This is an incredibly smart guy.
Wow. Yeah.
And because he happened to have that conversation, because he happened to learn something about Renaissance architecture, within a week, he had figured it out. So again, you never know which dot.
Yeah. So it just opens up.
And all those dots are out there. The internet is full of different colored dots. But we have to be conscious and intentional about how we use the internet, how we use social media. And that's the problem. So many of us aren't. We tend to veg out, just like we veg out with Netflix sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We need that mental break, that mental space every now and then. We need those popcorn movies. We need that sort of thing. But we also need to be intentional that, okay, this is a break.
Yeah.
But so today, make it a goal every day to collect a different colored dot, of just one different colored dot. Read some Twitter, a tweet that you wouldn't have read. Just start getting into the habit of it. It's a fun habit. And you know what? as the world comes back together, as we come back to, as the vaccinations, take effect, and we start kind of getting out in public, it's going to make you a more interesting person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you've got multicolored dots, if you can have an intelligent conversation about multiple topics, it's going to make you a more popular person. You're going to have more fun.
Yeah, I love that. So in this day and age, I know that you're not on the speaking route right now, but who are some of
very close though, very, very close.
Very
it's
close.
coming up.
Good. This year?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's
awesome.
right. Yeah.
So if I were to listen, because I love listening to speakers and either live or on YouTube, but who would you recommend in the world of creativity and innovation besides yourself? Who would you recommend?
Besides myself, some of the people that I know who are really good, James Taylor, not the singer-songwriter James Taylor, a different James Taylor. He's an English guy, and he's got a podcast. I forget what it's called, but he's really good with innovation. There's a guy named Josh Linkner who just came out with a great book, Big Little Breakthroughs, I believe is what it's called. And it's all about the idea that innovations don't have to be big in order to count. Your little innovations count. Stephen Shapiro is a really good speaker in the field of innovation. He's got a number of books out there also. Those are the three, and that's so weird that they're all three guys. I don't know if that's me or if that's the industry. I don't know. I've got to look into that. But those are the three that come to mind immediately.
That's great. Well, thanks for your time, Bill. Before we go, is there anything that we didn't chat about? Because we chatted about a lot of different topics. Anything that you want to leave the audience with, maybe something that they can think about or use now besides your connect the dot example that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I want to leave them with is just the knowledge that you are creative. You are an innovator if you choose to be. You have everything you need. You don't need any other special training. So all you have to do is get into the habit of connecting dots. We've already talked about some ways to start doing that. Think about an issue that you're going through right now. Maybe it's a challenge, maybe it's an opportunity, but something where you could use some innovation. Go out and find a completely different dot, a dot that's got nothing to do with it. Talk to somebody who's not in your industry. Somebody who sees the world differently, and or again, read an article that you wouldn't normally read, and then ask the key question: how is this like this? How can I connect this? How is this like my situation? Yeah. And then just keep doing that, and sit down with a pad of paper, not in front of your computer. Sit down with a pad of paper and come up with answers, and give yourself, like, say, I'm not gonna get up until I come up with at least 5 ways that I can relate this to my situation. They don't have to be great. Right now, it's just a matter of getting your brain into the habit of doing it. But you never know. You might strike gold.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Bill. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Okay.